Hello, welcome back to another edition of Prime Sports World. I'm your host, David On Point. Welcome back to another edition. This time, we're going to be doing our What's Next season where we break down division by division how each team should handle this offseason. And of course, I'm joined by Mr. TJ Hopkins. And if you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, Prime Sports World is a great place to be. We go live about 4 or 5 times a week, bringing the most up-to-date content, including a mock draft show tomorrow, where Christian Simpson is probably going to join us and break down his latest mock draft, because me and TJ already kind of did ours a couple weeks ago, but we're going to continue doing draft day coverage until the draft. Man, AFC South. Also, want to thank our friends over there, Rouge Bear, for sponsoring us here at Prime Sports World. AFC South is such an interesting division because there's a lot of teams kind of in flux in this division.
A lot of teams, or like 3 out of the 4?
Go ahead. I had...
No, I'm like a lot of teams, or 3 out of the 4.
Well, yeah, three out of the 4 teams are a bit in flux.
I mean, if you want to throw Tennessee in there, like you can, because if you want to ask them the dreaded Tannehill question,
and we're gonna ask the dreaded Tannehill question here in a couple minutes. So,
all right, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. So first of all, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars. What's next? New head coach. Trevor Lawrence has got to get improved from his rookie season. And then they obviously have the first overall pick in this year's draft. Notable free agents: Cam Robinson, Andrew Norwell, Taven Bryan, AJ Cann.
Do you have a graphic for it?
Yeah.
Because it didn't go on this. I'm just asking.
You know what? I
there we go.
There you go.
Well, obviously, like, with them, you have to remove the Urban Meyer stain that was, shown on the organization, with not just him, kicking the former kicker, or is he still there? Is that kicker still there, or is he still there?
I don't actually know.
Either way, he kicked the player. You got, which was bad, which was in itself bad in its own right. But then you have him staying behind in Ohio, and you had that whole situation with him and the young lady at the bar, which, by the way, Urban Meyer is a married man, by the way, and I'm predating it because the incident at the bar happened before.
Josh Lambo does not play for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Him kicking Josh Lambo happened first before him getting into the incident at the bar. Josh Lambo got released from Jacksonville and then came out with this not too long after the incident at the bar. So you have that to remove from. You got to get on from that. Not to mention, some of his quotes were not memorable, like him saying, "This was harder than college." Like, duh. It's almost like they tried to tell you, like, yo, this isn't you going to somebody's house and you're talking to mom and dad recruiting. No, like, the guys you're talking to are grown men just like you. They have fiscal responsibilities just like you. And no grown man is going to let you talk to them or do anything to them just like that you want to. It's not going to happen. So obviously the name of the game now is building around Trevor Lawrence. They have a new head coach. And who's the head coach again? Remind me.
It's the guy who coached the Eagles. Doug Peterson, yes, thank you.
Which, was not, it was greeted with open arms, but when you make it sound like a guy like Byron Leftwich all but has the job secured, and you renege on your offer because he doesn't want to work with Trent Baalke, he wants to bring in his own GM, which in my opinion makes a whole lot of sense, right? Like,
in my opinion, I think that's a lot to ask for a guy who's never been a coach in the NFL to pick the
But it's
GM.
also,
I don't.
but I also
I can understand. I can understand why the Jacksonville Jaguars were like, I don't know.
But if I'm Jackson, if I'm Byron Leftwich, and I look at Trent Baalke, what more do you need to see? Like, his track record is not a good one. He's not a good GM. So if you're Jacksonville, you should be wanting to move on from him anyway, right? So the name name of the game, build around Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence did not have the rookie season that I'm sure we all expected him to have. Like, we did not expect a guy like Davis Mills to not only see the field, but have a better rookie season than Trevor Lawrence. And that's just not supposed to happen.
You famously said, I mean, he went like 9 games where he didn't throw a touchdown, and yeah, the idea needs to be building around Trevor Lawrence and continuing to build on the roster, going ahead and building the wide receiving core and building out the offensive line. So the question is on the draft, what do you do with the first overall pick?
Well, the most recent one I saw, and I think what's his name? I have ESPN Plus, so I can look at it. Mel Kiper actually released his second mock draft, and I think I saw something along the lines of Evan Neal going third. I don't. If my main issue is protecting Trevor Lawrence and securing, him, I don't let Evan Neal. I don't let him slide. Right? I don't see, unless you feel that strongly about Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau or anybody else. I don't see Evan Neal not going number one. So you have to get him.
They would have to be absolutely in love with one of those defensive players in order to pass up an offensive lineman to make their offense. Trevor Lawrence is the future. I mean, if you don't put a good situation around him, he's going to end up like David Carr. He's going to end up like Sam Darnold. Like, you're just going to feed him to defenses for like his entire career, and he'll never become the player that everybody kind of thought he could be. Yeah.
So I don't care about anything else about them. Like the weapons don't matter if Trevor Lawrence can't get them the ball.
It's 100% true. They do have some other minor free agency, like Jihad Ward is safety. Now they got a center, Trey Herndon as well. DJ Chark is also a free agent. Who's a good wide receiver.
Who's a very good wide receiver. I wouldn't let him walk. Like, is Cam Robinson an O-lineman?
He's a left tackle
from out of Auburn, right?
Or Alabama, one of those SEC teams.
One of those two. I know it's one of those. So like, yeah, I don't let him walk. I get him. I draft Evan Neal. I put one at one left tackle. I put one at the right, and I build my O-line that way. I got to protect Trevor Lawrence. Like that. That's it. That's all.
And they have to get more out of Laviska Shenault. I mean, that guy was a second-round pick, and the guy needs to be more valuable. I mean, I think he scored 0 touchdowns last season.
Can't have that.
Yeah, like Laviska Shenault has to. Like, you should be using him very similar to Cordell or Patterson next year.
That's what I got on Jacksonville.
Same here. Moving on from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Houston Texans. Another new head coach, Lovie Smith. The Deshaun Watson questions continue to exist. And then they got the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft. Notable free agents, Desmond King, Christian Kirksey, Justin Reed, and Justin Britt. Just Britt's a center. Thoughts?
I like Justin Reed. He's a underrated secondary player. We already know the only thing they really care about is what happens to Deshaun Watson. And that should literally be everyone's concern, because what he's going through right now, it's bigger than him and the game of football. Like, we say this all the time about the NFL. You cannot say you care about women. You can't you can't come out and say all the good stuff you say about women if one of your guys does what he did, whether he's innocent or not, and not do anything about it. Like, the fact that you have not done anything, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised the NFL hasn't given out the suspension, the commission list, like,
none
and
of
I
that.
understand innocent until proven guilty, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire.
And this is a big fire. Like, this is 20. Like,
It's
this is
potentially a
2020.
PR nightmare for the National Football League.
And this guy on Facebook is like, Watson's innocent. How? Oh, the cases were dropped. You mean 3 out of 22? That's 19 more suits that he has to go through. This shit ain't over.
No,
It's by a
not,
long
it's
shot.
not even over for a long while.
But the one thing, Lovie Smith kind of trended on Twitter for like a day, and it's because he said something along the lines of, the Bengals went from 4th to the Super Bowl. Why can't the Texans? Dude, have you seen the team? Like, you saw the team. Like, you were the defensive coordinator on this team. You know why the Texans can't go from 4th to the Super Bowl, right?
I mean, yeah, obviously they have one of the worst defenses in the league, and they have no pass rush to really speak of. And, and they're not a destination where free agents are going to be like, yeah, I want to go play in Houston. Then the owner is bad, calling it nicely. The owner of the Houston Texans might be the worst owner in the league.
And considering some of the other, like, considering the team that we just talked about, like the Khans and the McCaskies,
yeah,
and the up in New York with the Giants, the Maras, like that's saying something. It's almost like they have a competition of who could be worse year in and year out. That Houston can't do nothing until they figure out Deshaun Watson. Until then, they gonna be what they are. They not even in limbo, bro. Like, they beneath limbo.
Yeah, they're kind of stuck in purgatory. Like, they can't really move forward, and they can't like rebuild. Because I mean, you had Deshaun Watson. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, they're just kind of trapped.
And that's what it is. Like, they trapped.
So thinking about their draft pick, how do you think they're going to address the draft? Where should they go? What is the most needed?
Well, you just said it, right? Like, they have one, if not the worst defense in football, right?
Yeah.
You got 2 premier edge rushers right there. It's hard to see. It's hard, and a safety in Kyle Hamilton if you let Justin Reed walk. If you feel that way about either one of those guys, get them. They're right there.
I mean, they're going to have the option. I mean, I think I think that Evan Neal, some of that, like, somebody offensive line is going to go in the first 2 picks. And then they'll have their option between Kyle Hamilton, Aiden Hutchinson, and Kayvon Thibodeau. And how they choose to address that is kind of up to them. Whichever of those players they think will be the most impactful.
I would have to go. I probably got to go edge rush. Like, I would go between Hutchinson and Thibodeau. That's just me, though.
I would take an edge rusher too. I think they can have more of an impact rather than anything else.
Like, unless you plan on playing Kyle Hamilton in the box a lot, because I see the 2 teams that we'll get to, and I see how they're built. I see what they want to do. They want to run the ball down my throat. I gotta have guys up front that can at least make it hard for them. And yeah, so I'm between Thibodeau and Hutchinson for the Houston Texans at 3. That's if they don't trade out of the pick.
I would be shocked if they traded out of the pick. Absolutely 100% shocked. And who's going to trade up? I mean, unless it's like a drastic change.
I don't know. This one mock draft I was looking at has, let me see if I can find it. Is this it? Yeah, this is it. Has Carolina trading up at 3. So
For
Carolina goes to 3. Houston drops to 6.
And what are they trading? What does Carolina take at 3?
They go Malik Willis at 3.
What? They can get him. They can get him at 6 if they really want him. That would be wild. That would be all right.
That's mock drafts for you.
We're getting crazy in the mock drafts. Moving on from the Houston Texans to the more relevant teams in the AFC South, we got the Indianapolis Bolts. Their big question marks comes in at no first-round pick, and then the swirling questions around Carson Wentz. Notable free agents: T.Y. Hilton, Xavier Rhodes, Eric Fisher, Mark Lewinski, guard.
It's absolutely insane that they're talking about moving on from Carson Wentz. Unless they go like, I saw one mock when we first did our mock draft. They had the one I was reading off had Desmond Ridder going to them in the second round, which, okay.
I mean, but that's still not a reason to just trade away Carson Wentz.
If you want to blame Carson Wentz for the team coming up short, you can, but that's a cop-out. That's a weak argument to use. You want to use Trevor Lawrence's past against him. Again, cop-out. That's weak. You want to know why? Because defenses are defenses for a reason. Right? There was plenty of games where if the Colts just get a stop, they win.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't lose that Jacksonville game, I mean, they don't lose a couple other games in the schedule, that Raider game.
Get a stop, you win.
And I agree with you because there's no plan in place for a backup, like a contingency plan. Like Carson Wentz is the only quarterback even on the roster that's worth even putting out there. Sam Ellinger is a rookie and a wild card. There's nobody else to speak of.
Right, Jacob Eason.
Not there anymore.
Not there. Okay, not there anymore. You have no plan.
I mean, there is no backup that somebody can just step in and fix their issues. Like it's just Carson Wentz is the only option.
I've been on the T.Y. Hilton is done in Indy train for like the last 3 seasons, and it's not that I think T.Y. Hilton is a bad player. I just think his time in Indy has run its course, especially with him being injured. Like the injury bug has bitten him quite a few times the last few years, and I just think a change of scenery would do him, like, some kind of justice.
I kind of agree with you on that. And he hasn't helped them at all, and he's been expensive, especially the last 2 seasons. But the problem with walking away from T.Y. Hilton, outside of Michael Pittman Jr., they don't really have any worthwhile wide receivers on the roster anyways. I mean, Zach Pascal is a free agent.
And I think that's what they target in this draft. Like Jack Doyle is a nice tight end, but he's not what you necessarily call a needle mover. Right? He's exactly what he is.
And their other tight end, Moya Cox, is a free agent too.
So, and same thing with him. Like, not a needle mover, fits what they do very well, can hurt you in spots. Because it's like one of those. They are literally built like how the Titans are built. Like, right, like you're so focused on stopping Jonathan Taylor / Derrick Henry that when they actually do pass the ball, it's like, oh, you can actually catch. You're not just out here blocking, right? So I think that's if they don't go Desmond Ridder or any other QB, or if they don't trade into the first round. Because that's the only way I see them trading Carson Wentz. If they sucker somebody into a first round pick.
No one is going to give up a first round pick for him. I would be shocked if somebody was like, oh yeah, you know what, Carson Wentz, first round pick.
So, because I'm trying to think of teams with like multiple first round picks.
Well, the Eagles.
Well, and we already know he ain't going back there.
He ain't going to the Jets. He ain't going to Detroit.
Or maybe Washington could. Washington has no issue trading out of the first round.
They don't even. Yeah, I would be shocked if Derek Carson Wentz. I mean, is he really that big of an upgrade over Tyler Heineke? Are you going to give him a first round pick? Are you going to give him a first round pick? I don't know about all that, dude.
Come on, don't. Okay, like let's not be that disrespectful here. Come
It's
on.
true. All right, you're right. But it still wouldn't make that trade if I'm the Commanders or whatever they want to call this today.
So yeah, if I don't see them doing it, obviously, I think if they would have done it, like if they think about doing it, I think they would have done it already, just to avoid having to ask this question or having to answer this question literally every day since the season ended.
Yeah, and I just there's no plan in place. Like I just look at their roster, like they're still good enough to be a playoff team, and they had a couple slip ups here and there. Like this is a team that should still make the playoffs. They play in the weakest division in football. Like two of those teams are just irrelevant for right now.
Right, like that should be 4 wins on your schedule.
Yep. And they have DeForest Buckner, who's an expensive player. Kwity Paye. I mean, this is still a pretty loaded defense, even with Xavier Rhodes coming in as a free agent, who hasn't been really all that good last season, at least.
So yeah, they got to figure out their quarterback issue. For some reason, who's the GM there? Because it ain't.
Is it Chris Ballard? It is Chris Ballard.
Yeah, him and I'm trying to think of who else. Jim Irsay, the owner. Yeah. Apparently, his patience is growing thin with Frank Wright.
Well, I mean, this is a team that has underachieved at least for one season.
And I get, the season that Andrew Luck, up and retired on you because you didn't plan for that. No one planned for that, right? So that one was kind of a spur of the moment, like, all right, what are we going to do here? And you rolled out Jacoby Brissett, and you flip-flop between Jacoby Brissett and I forgot whoever else you had playing quarterback that year. Next season, you go you had what was left of Phillip Rivers. And that went.
I mean, had 11 wins, I think. 11-5.
But when it was time to, when the rubber needed to meet the road,
Phillip Rivers.
Yep, gave you one. And this season, Carson Wentz was hoping to, rewrite the narrative that's been said about him. And for a while there, it looked good. They struggled at the beginning because it's like new team. They can't really, form that rapport that they want in off-season training. Like, not with all the guys, which is why we saw Michael Pittman take this huge step forward that we saw. And not to mention, again, like, they were a run-first team. Jonathan Taylor went apeshit, went crazy. And led the league in rushing, and not by much because Derrick Henry ain't played for a whole month. And he was still top 5. And we're going to move on to them right now.
Yeah, swinging on from them, the Indianapolis Bolts, to the team that actually won this division, Tennessee Titans. And their biggest questions revolve around Ryan Tannehill, their 26th overall pick in this year's draft, and repeated success. The Titans have struggled to repeat the success of previous seasons. There was a season they made the AFC Championship game, and then they got bounced in the divisional, but that season after that. This season they had their best record in the AFC. So how do you think they follow that up? Notable free agents: Ben Jones, Harold Landry, Rashawn Evans.
Well, we talked about the Titans as the team of the team of underrated. Like, Harold Landry is an underrated pass rush. We both said we'd be absolutely appalled if they let Harold Landry walk out that door. Rashad Evans, underrated middle linebacker. We'd be absolutely appalled if they let Rashawn Evans walk out that door.
Well, I mean, they better have some kind of plan if they're gonna let either of those guys walk. They do have some other like Anthony Pritzker, who's like their only tight end on the roster right now. Marcus Johnson is a wide receiver. None of these other guys matter.
Like the one issue that you had with them was their secondary. Like we lolled at that again underrated secondary that they had, just for them to let everybody walk going into this past season.
Yeah, but they actually played okay. I mean, Janoris Jenkins to Jackrabbit played well.
Like they played okay. Like our what's his name?
Christian Fulton coming off of that injury. I think it was
back
Achilles.
injury. Kevin Byard is Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard.
Kevin Byard might be top 5 safety in the National League.
Man, like Kevin Byard is like, hey, put some respect on my name, goddammit. And I'm trying to think of the guy they got from the Giants. They
got Amani
Hooker.
Yeah.
So
it's Caleb Farley, who they used to try and pick on. I think he tore his ACL during the season. So he's going to be. Elijah Molden had a pretty good rookie season as well.
So like all of
Nico Autry, good player.
And everybody wrote them off when Derrick Henry went out. Right? We thought it was, all she wrote. They was cooked. We thought it was the Colts division to lose. And their first game without Derrick Henry, what do? They go to LA and they beat the Rams. Pretty convincingly.
Yep.
I might add. They shut that, like the one thing that the one thing that was a concern about them, like the defense in general, made that offense look like they didn't know what the hell they were doing, right? And that kind of kickstarted the Rams aren't gonna win it all talk, but hey, they won it all.
They didn't win it all.
I was like, the lasting images of Ryan Tannehill is him throwing a pick in overtime, which basically set up the Cincinnati Bengals in field goal range. All they had to do was get McPherson to 5 more yards, and he drilled a
53-yard field goal, I think.
And he made it look easy.
Yeah.
It's not just that. Like, it's the first play of the game. He throws a pick. Right? And Tannehill he's heralded as saving his career. Because in Miami, we didn't see this.
No, I mean, he was written off. He was
written off. He was blessed. He gets signed to Tennessee to back up Mariota and takes his job. Took his job. Like, they all right, Marcus, we wish you well on your future endeavors. We're gonna go forward with this guy now. And yeah. And it's honestly like one of the best moves that they've made since hiring Mike Vrabel.
I mean, Mike Vrabel has nothing outstanding as a head coach
since he's been there, right? Like it's
yeah.
So like you had to ask yourself, if a team, again, plenty of teams need quarterbacks, right? If a team that can't land Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get to them when we talk to the North. I think Brian Gutekunst's talking. I haven't received any calls for Aaron Rodgers. You are so lying. Stop it. You're lying, dude. You may not answer the phone. That don't mean people ain't calling.
People are for sure calling about Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure.
But if you miss out on one of those two dudes, or for a fact you don't have the draft capital or personnel capital to land one of those guys, why not kick the tires on Tennessee and call them up like, hey, I'm interested in what Ryan Tannehill, what would it take for you to get off him and send him to me?
But I also think the thing you have to factor in, I mean, this is still a Tennessee team that wants to win. I mean, if you take Ryan Tannehill away, who's going to be your quarterback? You're going to draft Cam Howell, let Logan Woodside, Kevin Hogan, off Kevin Hogan again? Like, what are you going to do at the quarterback position if you take Tannehill? I mean, this is still a team you would assume would have some sort of championship aspirations next season.
I would think if they were to not move off of Tannehill, I would think like, yo, this is it. Like this next season, like if you don't at least get me to the AFC Championship, because we have the requisite pieces, we can win our division. We just did it.
I mean, they can win the division. I don't even think they have to play that well.
to win the division.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, we want everybody to stay healthy. You know, everybody stays healthy. If we somehow, some way get that first overall seed, we get a bye. All right, we get the bye that we need, and that way we only have to play 2 games. Well, 3 in total. But
3.
like, we win our home game, right? That's AFC Championship right there. So if I'm the Tennessee Titans and I don't move off of Tannehill, I think it's fair and respectable in the business to let a player know, like, hey, we're thinking about moving off you. It's on you to convince me not to make that move.
Yeah, and then I mean, this is a make or break season for him.
Has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
Because I'm sold on Mike Vrabel. I'm good. If they were to fire Mike Vrabel, he'd have a job in an hour.
I tend to agree with you.
Right? I'm obviously not cutting Derrick Henry. Not doing that one.
No, Derrick Henry is going to be there till he retires probably.
So I'm not doing that one. So if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I have to figure out more ways to incorporate my passing game. I have to figure out more ways, and it has to be more than just rollouts and play actions. Because I know they want to stop. I know teams want to stop Derrick Henry, but if I'm trotting out AJ Brown, and I don't know what they're going to do with Julio Jones,
I do not envision a scenario where Julio Jones is back on this team next season.
Hypothetically speaking, let's just say he is.
Okay.
For the sake of this conversation, let's just say he is. Who the hell do they have at tight end? Because it ain't Johnny.
Jeff Swain, Anthony Frisker.
Okay, so
Ryan Izzo.
I addressed that right there. Right, I got to do that. I can't be throwing at AJ Brown and, if he's healthy, Julio Jones every play, and some maybe tight ends. Like, maybe they catch it, maybe they don't. Tight ends, I can't have that.
I mean, Zach Ertz would be a nice addition to this team.
That'd be nasty. But everybody got to stay healthy, right?
And they don't really have cap room either.
AJ Brown, so
OJ Howard,
they cheat.
Hayden Hurst.
Option. They probably draft a tight end. I gotta look at the draft class for tight ends when we get off of here. All right, AJ Brown, you gotta stay healthy. He was in and out of the lineup. Julio Jones, you gotta stay healthy. You were in and out of the line, more out than in of the lineup.
And when this is healthy, this is one of the better offensive lines in the National Football League. So they have to keep the offensive line healthy as well.
So I don't see a reason. I mean, obviously, when we talk about the AFC South, it's down to 2 teams. It's the Colts and the Titans.
Depending on what the Colts end up doing at quarterback. I think if they were to trade Carson Wentz, I think they would be in big trouble next season.
If they trade Carson Wentz
and they don't get somebody back at quarterback that can play.
Yeah, if they trade Carson Wentz with no surefire, safe backup, you might as well just give the division to the Titans, because it's literally going to be Tennessee North, because all the Colts are going to do is turn around, hand the ball to Jonathan Taylor, which they already do 500 times a season, and that gets pretty easy to fix, right? All I got, I know you're not going to throw the ball. I just got to put 9 in the box, and if I line it up to the point where you don't have enough blockers to block my guys, I'm going to win that. I'll take that every time.
Yeah, especially since I just mentioned Eric Fisher is a free agent, starting left tackle. Mark Glowinski starting right guard, free agent as well. This is a team that does not have an immense amount of cap space, or at least in the Colts. I mean, the Titans don't have any cap space either. But
so I don't like this. Like, when you said this is the weakest division in football, my brother, you did not lie. Like, it's bad, and I'm not saying the division we play in is that much stronger, but We ain't this. The North
No,
ain't this.
I think there are three legitimate teams in the North, and even no matter what the Vikings or the Bears do, but like the two teams, like especially if the Colts play away Carson Wentz, like this will be the worst team division by far.
And with Jim Irsay saying that, basically saying next season is potentially make or break for Frank Wright, you got a whole building walking on eggshells.
Yeah, whenever you have a coach that's in the final year of his contract, anyways, like, and we could pull the plug on him, things get messy.
Very
We
fast.
literally just went through that in Chicago.
Like, and you see it, like, jokes that used to be funny ain't funny no more. Right? You ain't got time for like, hey man, let me tell you about my weekend. Fuck your weekend. I gotta deal with my shit.
And yeah, I think in the draft, the obvious should be wide receiver depth, tight end depth, and I would still address the secondary, even though they have had, some decent players there.
They were decent this year. Like, not, like they definitely, shot the hell out of us because we legit thought that, they gonna give up a lot of points, but the saving grace was which is what I said, if they can keep the other team, if they can keep their own defense off the field just long enough to keep them fresh.
And the thing they also did, their pass rush really was rejuvenated this season. So they came out, got pressure under a lot of people at quarterbacks, and Harold Landry, a big part of that.
And shout out to Bud Dupree.
Bud Dupree.
Seriously.
Coming off that ACL tear, came back as a really good player. But this has been our what's next for the AFC South.
So the serious question is, what you got coming on that pizza, man? What toppings we got on the pizza, man?
Pepperoni, baby.
All right. Good man.
But yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow doing our mock draft show, and we're going to continue doing what next for every single division in the National Football League until we get through every division. I'm David. Right there is TJ. TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, and if we could keep it, it'd be nice.
It's supposed to get a little cold on Thursday.
I went outside and just this sort of thing. I was like, I missed it.
I was downtown because I work downtown, and like, man, being downtown when it's like semi-nice, it's just great.
Ain't it beautiful?
And like the air is crisper, the energy is better, everyone's in a better mood. The food tastes better.
Don't the sun reflect off the buildings just a little bit? Like,
it's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow. So continue checking us out here at Prime Sports World, bringing you most consistent content on Facebook and on YouTube now. So continue checking us out. I'm David. There's TJ. You guys all have a good rest of your day. Take it easy, guys.
See you, man.